He's like, get down, get down, get down. I'm laying on the ground. My parents don't know I'm doing this. I'm like, I'm going to get killed when I get home if I survive. The instructor gets the nozzle, puts the fire out, looks at me and goes, get him out, because he's screaming, the guy that was on the nozzle. He's burned. So no training. The only training I had was, here's your air pack, here's how it works, here's your gear.
First of all, it's great to have you on the show and great to have you in Spokane area right now, man, especially for the event that we're doing for the Jeff Welch Foundation. It's an honor to have you up here, and we really appreciate you, man. Honestly, truly, we really appreciate you taking the time to come up here for this event. It's awesome.
Yeah, it was a good little trip. Got to be out here, earlier?
Yeah, what was that, 6 months ago?
Yeah, roughly? At least, probably in January, February, maybe. Yeah. It was before FDIC. And, of course, you guys smoked it up for me.
Gosh,
getting
man.
Off the plane.
Can you see it coming in?
Yeah, it was really hazy. I didn't really see any of the columns smoke. I was kind of on the right side of the plane, but definitely it was hazy everywhere. Yeah. As soon as we landed and they opened the door, I could smell it.
Really?
I kind of knew what that smell was.
Yeah, you recognize that smell just a little bit. It's been, for those watching maybe who don't realize, we had obviously over the past little bit here in Spokane, all these fires happening. I think 1,000 structures now they were saying that we've lost over the past week and a half, 2 weeks. But when those fires came in, this last week, our Amber Alerts just started going off. Our phones, that we had a little get together, but it had 25, 30 mile an hour winds, and the fires just took off. And it was, honestly, everybody right now dealing with this here in Spokane. We're with you on this. We're going to send a link down actually below. We have we're doing some helping out here at our business right now just for supplies. So we'll put that link on here so you guys can go on and help out as much as we can. But it's definitely impacted the community quite a bit, and the first responders have been on high alert. So much appreciation to all those guys as well. But I know the guys are really respectable who are out here this week. We had yesterday we had Chris Slayer on, and he talked a lot about you. He's out here for the event. I know you're out here for the event. It was kind of 50-50 on whether it was going to happen, we thought, and then the fires kind of cleared up a little bit. So
yeah, I was surprised when I gave y'all the email last week. You guys still doing this?
Yeah.
Or are you on fire?
Yeah.
So
we got a lot of feedback from a lot of people. It was on fire there for a little bit. So, but now it's starting to slow down, but it turned out pretty good. So we're excited for the event this week. So with that, maybe give us a quick little rundown. So you're coming in for the Jeff Welch and you're speaking tomorrow. What's your topics on?
So doing 2 classes tomorrow. One I call Nuts and Bolts, which is it's really about core values for any organization, but obviously I relate it to our Georgia smoke diver course and our Indiana and Oklahoma smoke diver course. Is what we use as our final exam. And, when you think about nuts and bolts, you're in the container business here. So you're thinking about putting something together or whatever. And so I use that as the metaphor for how do you get your organization gelled together. And it's with those core values, and they're universal through anything. It's not just for a fire class or whatever. And then I think I'm doing a little size up for search, which is I try to avoid how exactly to search, and I'm focused on how to read the building and determine where to start your search. What's the most probable location of a victim based off a number of factors. You need to search everywhere, but where do you start? You know, and kind of compare that to playing blackjack, because you got a book, and the book tells you what to do for everything. And so if you play those odds, you have the biggest chance of winning. Same with search. If you look at that building and you look at all the factors and your knowledge from running calls to that neighborhood, time of day, all those things factor in to give you a probability. And if you go with that, then we're finding that you're making rescues. You have a higher probability of making rescues.
Oh, that's great. So how often now are you going around the country then? And is this the same topic that you're talking on a lot of the time, or?
The nuts and bolts presentation has been super popular because this kind of pump you up kind of type deal. The search one I actually wrote this course probably coming up on 20 years ago because most everything focused on the actual technique of search, like whether it's vent enter search or if you were doing a room-oriented search or whatever. And I focus on the decision-making side of, like, you know, how to read that structure, the conditions, when it's okay to go ahead of the hose line, when you got to get a hose line in place first, that kind of stuff. But mainly, like, what's the highest probability of where those victims are? And then if you go to that spot first and then work your way back, you have a higher probability of finding somebody.
Interesting. So, and I know a lot of people talk to you about FDIC. They talked about all the, you know, the classes you go and talk to. I want to know a little bit, stepping further back. And some people know this, I know, and everyone knows you in the fire industry, obviously. But where did you start out? Like, when did you first get into the fire industry? Where was that? What city were you in at the time, and what got you into that originally?
So it was in my hometown where I grew up in Conyers, Georgia, which is about 25 miles east of Atlanta. And I was actually working for a land surveyor. Just had graduated high school, and that had been my summer job every year in high school. So I went full time with that company when I graduated from high school. And I was kind of toying with what I wanted to do. Was did I want to go back to school? My grandfather was a police chief, and I thought about being a police officer, thought about being a medic, because I was an old emergency guy from being a kid, you know, watching Squad 51 and all that. So I thought that'd be cool. And about time all that's going through my head, the fire chief comes in for a survey job. And I just struck up a conversation with him, and he invited me to come check out the station. And I told him that I was kind of leaning towards the police department or medic, one of those. And he goes, well, all firefighters have to be EMTs now. And he goes, if you'll come volunteer, we'll pay for you to go to EMT school. And that's like the first step, you know. And so, I was making minimum wage, whatever it was like $6 an hour or something. And I thought, that'd be pretty cool if they'll pay for me to go to school, and I can kind of still try it out, and then I can still work here. And I went that week, met the guys at the station, and sat down, talked to him some more, signed a little paper to be a volunteer. And they were paid and volunteer, so like they had a little combo. And it was mainly to keep some of the old volunteers on the roster.
Gotcha.
More than anything, they didn't rely on them for staffing or anything. And Lieutenant was there, Joel Yoder, and he said, we got a training burn Saturday. If you want to come, be here at 6 o'clock in the morning. And I went to that training burn, and the very first time ever in a building, it was an old farmhouse, super tall ceilings, that varnished tongue and groove pine paneling. Got in there, and it's like 6 people on the line. I was second, and this big, huge, overweight guy was on the nozzle, and we got 2 or 3 rooms in, and the thing flashed. Luckily, the ceilings were tall, and that guy, Yoder, disappears, and fire falls on the ground. Him and the nozzle guy are wrestling around, and the guy panicked and wouldn't open the nozzle. So he's like, get down, get down, get down. I'm laying on the ground. My parents don't know I'm doing this. I'm like, you know, I'm going to get killed when I get home if I survive. And so the instructor gets the nozzle, puts the fire out, looks at me and goes, get him out, because he's screaming, the guy that was on the nozzle. He's burned. So no training. The only training I had was, here's your air pack, here's how it works, here's your gear. And it's the first day I had gear. And I instinctively grabbed this guy by the SCBA straps, and he was too big for me to drag. I think I weighed 130 pounds at the time. So I turned and got 2 other guys to help me, and we dragged this guy out. And once we got him out, and that adrenaline's pumping and all that stuff, I was like, man, I was like, to hell with EMT school. This is what I want to do right here.
So that sold you.
And that was done. And I still went to EMT school, but I was like, I want to do this. And so luckily about 2 months later, a full-time spot came open, and I did it. Also, I didn't have a hood back then. So like we were doing a debrief, and the instructor's telling us what all happened and why it happened, and all really detailed on the varnish and not opening the nozzle. This is what can happen. And I saw him taking his hood off, and I was like, "Excuse me, sir, what's that?" And he goes, "What?" I said, "That thing you have over your head." He goes, "Oh, this is a Nomex hood." I said, "What's it for?" And he goes, "It's to keep your..." "Damn, son, come here." And he just said, "Pow, pow," and popped those 2 blisters. He goes, "You'll be all right. They're not bad." And then when we got back to the station that night, he tossed me a Nomex hood out of the locker.
It's, oh my gosh, man. So they did a controlled burn. So they had a structure that they were going to be tearing down. So they did a controlled burn inside this for you guys going and train on for a little bit.
It was like 3 or 4 pallets in a room, and it was that tar. I mean, I had it all over me. That brown tar that drips off the varnished.
Just caught on fire.
Yep. And if it had been an 8-foot ceiling, we would have all gotten burned. But they were like 12-foot ceilings in this thing.
Gosh. So after that, then, so you jumped on then with that fire. And one more time, the name of the fire department? Conyers. Yep. So you're with Conyers. How many years were you with them after that?
Was there 5 years, and then we consolidated with the county. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of bad from a payroll and benefits. We lost money. We worked 24/48. They worked 24/72. So I lost about $5,000 a year in salary and a ton of benefits. They just didn't have the same pay package and all. And it was called a consolidation, but it was really a shutdown and a rehire. We actually had to fill out applications. We weren't eligible for pension for 6 months, like to be in the pension process. And I had already had a couple of my friends from Conyers had gone on to other larger departments. And Conyers was a 1-station, 20-person department in a little city. And the county had about 7 stations. But where we had like 5 or 6 guys on duty, they only had 2, like in their stations.
Got it.
When I got into that system, it was just kind of like I wasn't running near as many calls. They didn't do the training like we did at Conyers. Good guys, and when we did have fires, it was good, but just wasn't the right vibe. So that's when I decided to leave and go to Atlanta.
So you went to Atlanta then after that, and did you get on with Atlanta before you left after that, kind of hired through that process? Or?
Yep. So I was at the county, and I was probably there a year and a half, mm-hmm. and I was in Atlanta's process for 6 months of that time.
Gotcha.
And then went straight into their recruit school.
Gotcha. So you went into Atlanta, moved over there. That's how far, roughly? An hour or two?
No, it's like 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Probably completely different, though, going
Totally
into the
different.
fire industry in Atlanta. What was that changeover like?
So I was really excited about recruit school because I'm like, I'm already an instructor by this time. So I'm like, I'm really going to enjoy this. And I was kind of disappointed because it was just very, very basic, mm-hmm. 101 type mm-hmm. stuff. There was some cool stuff, like we did Pompier ladders for confidence building and stuff that I would have never got to do anywhere else. But overall, it wasn't the hype that I thought it was going to be. Now, when I got to the station, that was a whole other
different story. Yeah. So it's kind of interesting too, because like you think about, we talked about this on the show in the past, but like, people want to get promotions or they want to go to a bigger city or they want to do something else. But a lot of times too, what it seems like is the firefighters I've talked to, the volunteer firefighters, the guys who maybe are in the smaller cities, they're the ones that are actually dealing with more of the hands-on stuff that you don't always deal with.
It's crazy because it's like when you don't have the staffing, like you do everything, right?
Yeah.
And so like our method of operating in Conyers was pull up in front of the house, pull a pre-connect, 500 gallons of water. You either put it out or you didn't, because there's only 4 of you there. There's like 2 on the engine and then 2 more coming on the next unit, and 2 of those are pumping. So it's you by yourself or one other person, and it was very quick, aggressive, fast water, all the stuff that they teach now, but it was out of necessity. And we were pretty successful with tank water and waiting on the next unit to get water. Go to Atlanta, and you've got more people than ever. And I saw things that just blew my mind. Like we did not open a tank valve to get water. You had to have a reverse lay hooked to the hydrant. And I sat there for what seemed like decades waiting on water while I watched this fire and be like, if I was by myself at Conyers, I could have put this fire out 100 times, and I'm waiting on water. And it went from 1 room to 3 rooms to 4 rooms. And it was just a whole different way of operating. And we used to joke that, when UL came out with the controlling the door, like if you've ever worked in the urban department, there's so many people standing in the door that you are controlling the air flow path because you block it with all the people standing in the door. So sometimes you can have too many people not doing what, they're not dispersed, around. But we got better. We got better at that, and there's some really good firefighters in Atlanta and good tactics. So got to run a ton of fires, and then just odd calls that you don't get like in the suburbs and stuff, like cars into buildings and multiple shootings and stabbings and just crazy stuff, riots. Yeah. And a lot of technical rescue stuff, whether it's, high angle off a high rise or a construction collapse, a building collapse. And you just don't get those kind of things as frequently to where you would go to them,
Isn't it interesting too? It's kind of interesting. We did a video a little bit ago on a car into a building, and I was surprised, like completely blown away by the number of departments that were surprised that, like, in a good way, like, oh, we've never even thought about practicing doing a car into a building. But everybody that saw that video and read about it was just like, we need to practice this now.
It's pretty common.
I couldn't believe it. How many people had actually gone through that and had a car into a building that people were actually going to practice on? No one had done it before.
Right. Yeah.
Majority of them.
The majority of the ones that I went to over my career were like, they're usually accidental. Elderly person hits the gas at a strip mall and goes through the window. But every now and then you'd have somebody that veered off and went into a house or an apartment or something like that. And the thing with the wood, especially the wood frame, is like a couple of spot shores on the outside, and it's not going anywhere after that because you've just knocked out the exterior wall. And but access sometimes is tough because maybe it's a small room, you can't get the doors open or what have you. So obviously your priority is to stabilize that exterior wall and then get access to that patient.
So you were in Atlanta then for how long were you actually in Atlanta?
30 years.
30 years. So then you went and you retired also in Atlanta then. Gotcha. So during that time, obviously you went up through the rankings while you were there, captain, I'm assuming, then battalion chief, or how did your rankings work there?
So driver was the first promotion, and then lieutenant, captain, and then battalion chief. And I made battalion chief, I think I had 12 years on in Atlanta. So that would be 18-ish years total fire service. And then I stayed battalion chief.
Was battalion chief, because I asked this question quite a bit with people who are on the show, just like at what point during that, what position that you had did you enjoy? If pay was off the table, everything else was off the table, and you had to go back, you're in your prime at that time, what would be that role that you enjoyed the most running?
Tillerman on truck 2.
Really?
Yeah. That was awesome.
Really?
Lots of fires and just, being on the tiller truck, on the truck. I liked truck work better than engine work just because of the freedom. A lot of people like to be on the nozzle and flowing water and all, but to me, it's like you got to drag the boat anchor around everywhere and you can't get anywhere. Whereas if you got a hook in your hand, you can take off. And I always it was almost like internal competition with your own company, because we were an engine and a truck. And we'd get there, they're getting their water, they're stretching their lines, doing their size up and all that stuff. We're in the building, like we got the door open in the building, knocking out a quick little search. And then I loved being able to come back to the door as they're coming in and go, it's this way. Like you're like force recon, or whatever. And you take take them and show them where the fire is.
That's cool. I
And
hadn't
I
heard
just
that
like
one yet.
that freedom of being able to move around quickly and
Interesting.
all that. And I like doing engine stuff, and I was a captain on the engine, but to me, that was the ultimate. And then being able to drive the back of the truck was cool too. We would swap. I'd drive the front for a month, and then we'd swap. So we'd do a month on either position.
Now this is someone from the outside looking in at that. But Spokane Valley's got one of those guys. What do they call them? The tiller trucks. Yeah. I'll tell you what, man. That seems like a stressful job on the back of that truck.
It's a little tricky, learning how to do it, but it's really, most people overdrive it.
Yeah.
It's like, it's really, you really come into play when you got a tight 90-degree turn in traffic, more so than that. If you just kind of hold the wheel, it tracks pretty good. Matter of fact, if they take it for a long ride to the shop or whatever, they just tie the steering wheel off and you pull it like a trailer.
Really?
Yeah. But the beauty is when you're in the urban environment and you got tight streets, like you can put that truck anywhere the engine can go.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's phenomenal. So that was, and it's fun because it's like the iconic, thing. And that's what we always joke about, in our world, a truck bends and has a driver in the back.
Mm-hmm.
And some other worlds, we just call those ladders, but ours was a true truck.
So when you were with Atlanta, somewhere along the way, obviously you're extremely well known in the fire industry. You can talk to anybody. Talk to Kevin Shea. And, there's certain names that people know, and you're obviously one of those names. So somewhere along the way, when you were in Atlanta, what kind of steered your, because obviously you got fire engineering, FDIC. What was that thing that kind of steered you down the path you are now?
So it actually goes back to Conyers, and out of the 20 people there, I guess 14, 15 had been through Georgia Smoke Divers program. And so I went to that right before I had a year on. And I went there in 86, and I met a group of folks there, including Scott Millsap, who ran the program. And he became just a huge mentor. And, it's like, okay, I want to be like that guy. And he's in charge of the smoke diver program, and he's teaching and all that stuff. So I really got into hanging out with that crowd, coming back and helping teach the class. And it was a lot of hard charger, good instructors. And I fell right into that group and started doing live burn training with the State Fire Academy, traveling all over the state, doing acquired structure burns. And that opened a lot of doors. And then kept doing that and actually worked for Scott. He retired from Dalton, Georgia, and started his own training company. And we did industrial, and we did like tech rescue, hazmat, basic firefighter, rope rescue, confined space, all of that stuff. And when Penwell bought FDIC, they asked Scott to do hands-on training. And so that first year in 97, I ended up getting sick and not being able to go, but we planned out our class, and it was just held in the parking lot.
Really?
It was the old RCA dome. And so they just did the training out there in the parking lot. And I ended up going in 98, and then the HOT program continued to grow. We ended up out at like Pike Township doing, I think we did 3 classes. I think we did high angle rope, confined space, and something else. I remember we did a couple of things, and did that for like 5 years or so. And then they asked us to actually take over running all of the hands-on training. And I ended up helping with logistics. I'd kind of done it with our own group, making sure we had all the equipment and stuff. So I ended up doing that for all of the hot classes for 20 plus years. And but it was Scott that introduced me to FDIC and to the Fire Academy, and the instructors. One of them was that lieutenant I talked about earlier.
Yeah.
But like if you were at Conyers, you were expected to become an instructor and teach at the state level in some capacity.
So that first time that wasn't in Indianapolis then. Or was that? Or
Yeah,
was that?
it was in
It was
Indianapolis.
India. So
Yeah,
it's always been in
97.
Indianapolis.
Well, it was in Cincinnati. It's been in a lot of places, but it was in Cincinnati, and then when Penwell bought it from ISFSI, it had already moved to Indianapolis, and I think Penwell got it on its second or third year in Indianapolis.
Gotcha.
And then my first year was 1998.
Gotcha. So 98, you're doing some instructing there, helping out. And isn't going back to that, isn't it always crazy though, the connections that we make along the way? And I tell this to my family, I tell this to the people I work with all the time. It's like, never burn bridges. I don't care what type of situation you've been in the past, whether it's the department that you went, things went bad, whether it's a team you've been on, whether it's a business. Don't burn bridges, because it always seems that the original contacts you had are always the contacts that end up being the ones that get you somewhere.
Well, and it proves that relationships are more powerful than anything else. And that's held true. I think, Scott opened the doors to an outside world from just Conyers. And then it was like the state. And then the state things and learning how to do live fire and confined space and technical rescue, all that stuff led to FDIC. And then FDIC opened up the whole country. And, we started traveling around and doing these classes. We would do RIT. We were one of the first groups to actually do RIT and fast training, all the way back to the Mike Lombardo and Bob Pressler were traveling with us teaching. And Mike was one of the fathers of, the fast unit concept out of Buffalo. And you meet tons of people along that way, and that leads to another door opening and another door opening. And unfortunately, Scott passed away from cancer before he got to do his first FDIC as the lead over All Hot. And then we put a team together. It was like 5 of us that managed it all instead of just one person. And it's been going ever since.
That's great.
And then never in a million years did I ever think I'd be running the training or the magazine or any of that. But Scott did the keynote. I think it was 98 or 99. Mm-hmm. And I remember sitting in the audience, and a guy from out here and Oak Harbor, he poked me and he goes, "You're going to be up there one day." And the next year I did the keynote because of that huge incident that happened in Atlanta where the guy rescued the guy from the top of a crane with a helicopter dangling on a rope. I was union president, and there was all kinds of political stuff going. And so then I did the keynote in 99 or 2000, and that sort of solidified me as like a legit FDIC, person.
That's
it was
great,
crazy.
Man.
The keynotes were an hour back then. Now they're 20 minutes.
That's pretty impressive.
And I started writing for the magazine about that time too. That was my first article, was about that fire.
Really?
And I had 2 articles in the same issue as a first time writer, and one was on the rescue about the helicopter and Matt Mosley and making that rescue. And then the second one was about the fire, which was the largest historical renovation in the country at the time. It was an old cotton mill that was being turned into loft apartments. And it was heavy timber, and they were rebuilding and making this thing, and it caught on fire during construction and completely destroyed, but completely rebuilt after that. They had the plans. They rebuilt all the heavy timber, recut all the heavy timbers, and put that thing back together like original.
Wow.
Used the brick that collapsed to build it back. That's
pretty impressive. So that was your first article then with Fire Engineer Magazine, covering that.
Yep.
So when was, so after that, obviously, I mean, FDIC's clearly just done one of these crazy. I mean, last year you almost had 1,000, was it 1,000 exhibitors almost? Like 900?
Yeah.
Something ridiculous.
38,000 people.
38,000 people this last year. When was it? Because I know right before, and I started in, I think 2019 or 2020, something like that's when my first attendance on that. But before that, I was hearing that it was about what we saw this last year, which was 38,000.
Yeah, this was the highest ever. I think pre-COVID, we had gotten up to around 27,000, somewhere like that. And then it dropped off, obviously, with COVID, and then we skipped a year. But, yeah, we totally recovered from COVID and now growing.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah.
So
Well, the show this last year, man, I can tell you, just being in there, because the first year I went, I was in Lucas Oil that year, but that's back when Pierce was also in Lucas Oil Stadium. And then, so it was kind of, numbers, it was unbelievable to me how big the show was at that point. And to see it for me over the past 4 or 5 years that we've been there, just do one of these every single year, and the stuff happening outside now, inside. I mean, you guys can't get much bigger before you're.
It's crazy. When we think we're just maxed out, we figure out another way to add some outdoor space, or we got a new hotel coming this year, so we got some more space over there. And me being on the training side, all the hands-on training was Monday, Tuesday until 2 years ago. And we decided the only way we could expand was to go Wednesday, Thursday, Friday too. So we experimented a little bit. It did well, and so we expanded that last year to where we were actually doing live fire every day of FDIC.
That's great, man. Well, the group that you have working that event too, top notch.
Yep.
I mean, every single person I talk to know exactly what's happening, where you're supposed to be, how things are supposed to be done. You got a fantastic group over there,
It's a small but mighty force.
It is.
And people are shocked to find out like how small we actually are as a company. But obviously we bring on a lot of help and contractors for the show. But managing the show, the core team, there's only like about 10 of us.
Well, Nancy,
yeah,
she's on it, man.
Nancy. I think Nancy and I have been. Well, I think I've been there a little bit longer, counting my instructor time.
Yeah.
But she came along right in those early days. Like when I started doing logistics, she was there.
Yeah.
And so part of my job with logistics was working with all the exhibitors who supplied equipment for the hot classes. And so Nancy and Susie were my liaisons to all those companies. I'd be like, hey, I need 58 smoke machines. And they're like, oh, we know who to call.
They just do it.
Yeah.
I think Nancy's been probably annoyed by me more than anybody. I talked to her the first couple of years. She's like, stop calling me finally. I was like, all right, Nancy, I'm sorry, but she is on her stuff, man.
Her claim, one of her claim to fame, like she had a very famous friend.
Oh, yeah?
Joan Rivers.
Really?
She supplied Joan Rivers with her dogs.
Really?
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
I got to ask her about that.
Yeah.
That's very impressive.
Talk to her about Hollywood Squares.
I will definitely do that. So talk to us then, obviously, FDIC. I don't want to just go too much on a tangent on FDIC, but it excites me. I know for us, when FDICs come, I can't even imagine for you, because for us, we start planning for FDIC about a month when we get back from FDIC. It's like, okay, what are we taking next year? What are we doing for next year? How's it going to look? I can't even imagine what your group of 10-ish people that you're saying are going through. What should we look for next year at FDIC? What's the thing next year that's going to be differentiator?
So we're expanding more training opportunities in what we call the stadium experience now, which you've seen with the drill yard. You guys were there.
Yep.
You were also in the sim yard, which is like the EMS training area. We're looking at doing a repair shop to where manufacturers and you could do like nozzle repair. So a nozzle company could come in and hold an hour class on how to replace a ball valve in a nozzle, because a lot of firefighters are also the ones working on equipment. I saw that like at our small department, Conyers and Rockdale's, like, okay, if you got a problem with a nozzle, you send it to this station and you put it on the shelf. And when that guy comes in, as he's done with all his other duties, he goes out there and he works on nozzles. Another guy works on air packs, another guy recouples hose, and then another guy works on the truck. So there's a lot of that goes on. So we thought like repair classes in SCBA and just, light maintenance stuff the stuff that you can do at the station. So that'll be new. More classes in the drill yard that are exhibitor led, whether it be bailout classes, rope classes. There's some search props and stuff that are in there. So a lot of the manufacturers are teaching. And those, what I liked about those when we came up with that drill yard concept was, even though it's expensive to go to FDIC, we know that. The hotels are expensive. Getting there is expensive. The show's expensive. But it's like, how do we have something for everybody. So like, let's say you're 20 years old, you're starting out in the fire service, you're a volunteer, you're spending your own money, and you can't afford to go to the 2 days before and go to live fire and all that, but you still would like to get some training. With the exhibitor pass, there is training opportunities now in the stadium experience. Whether it's listening to a health and wellness lecture on the health and wellness stage, learning how to do ultrasounds in the field in the EMS area, doing a search maze or VES under non-fire conditions. And, what do we have? Two two-story burn buildings, a 4-story tower, and then just tons of other training props, forcible entry.
Yeah.
And so you can participate in those just by coming to the exhibition.
That's great.
And then for those that can't make it on pre-conference dates, we're doing more hands-on training during the week. So there's opportunities to do like an actual search class or a live fire.
That's great.
We'll have 2 separate live fire classes, which is 4 sessions going on Thursday and Friday.
That's great.
Again.
Man. That's honestly this last year though in there. I mean, Forge Fire had a great setup. Lion had a great setup. I know we were in there. Your vertical tower hydraulic company, that was, can't remember who that was. They always come every year.
Yeah.
But the number of training props that you have in there, I mean,
it's insane.
There's no reason not to have some sort of training, like you said, or hands-on.
It's interactive.
Happening.
The whole thing is like, that's why we call it the stadium experience. Is like, we want you to come in and be able to get your hands on the equipment and do things with it, whether it's virtual reality stuff or driving simulators. It's very interactive in that area.
That's cool. So, and from an outsider looking in, I always talk about, I love being able to talk to, there's 2 people I enjoy talking to in the business. I enjoy talking to my CPA and I enjoy talking to my banker. And the reason why I enjoy talking to those guys is because I get a glimpse of multiple different businesses. If I talked to you, let's just say as a business owner, and said, hey, talk to me about how good business is. Of course, you're going to tell me it's fantastic. But when I talk to my CPA or my banker, they have a collective insight of all of the other businesses in my area. So I can really get a good understanding of like, am I doing this well? Is this something that's maybe you could also get a trend curve that's starting to happen? They're saying, hey, businesses are really starting to do that. So I lead that to this question is, so for you, obviously you've been doing FDIC for multiple years now. What's been that biggest thing you've seen in the fire industry as of late? Businesses, whether it's a business, whether it's whatever it is, what is that thing that you've been starting to see a lot more of that you really maybe didn't expect?
I guess the biggest thing is the acquisitions of tons of smaller companies into conglomerates, and if you look at it, like all the turnout gear and I won't say all, but a lot of the turnout gear, the fire apparatus manufacturers, a lot of them have consolidated, and it's just, it's kind of the American trend where you've got like venture capital stuff and they're buying and they're creating these companies. The first time I remember seeing it was like with Scott Air Packs. They got bought out. They were an independent company, and I think Tyco was the first one that bought them, and then just started seeing it happen more and more. And that was 25 years ago. And then now it's just a lot. And so you still have a pretty good base of smaller independent companies, and then huge companies, and it seems like there's not a lot in the middle. Yeah. And then, as one gets to going, it's like somebody wants to buy them almost immediately, and it's either one, it might be to shut them down, or the other, it might be, especially like in the protective clothing thing. I've heard, a lot of stories about it. Okay, they got a new glove manufacturer that, these gloves are great. Whatever happened to those gloves? Yeah. They went away.
Yeah, and I couldn't believe some of these booths and setups there, man. Some of these guys do a heck of a job and spend some time setting up those booths. They are pretty incredible.
And it's an interesting, it's funny to watch, because like sometimes it's a huge benefit to a company because it opens up marketing and sales reps and more power behind something. And then in other cases, I've seen it totally destroy innovation. Yeah. And so where little companies like, let's try this and let's try that, and you've got like an owner operator, and it's like, it's personal.
Yeah.
And I've known a lot of these people over the years, and it's like, man, they're inventing this and they're inventing that. And then the big company comes in, and then it's like, okay, this is the new marketing guy. He's fresh out of college. He doesn't know anything about it. He's great at marketing, but like you lose that personal connection. And I've seen it like go cycle where it'll be 3 or 4 years, and then finally they kind of catch back up and start to get back connected. But at first it's just accounting sheets, and it's strictly like a bean counter type business. So it's interesting.
That is interesting. I didn't even think about it from that realm, but I can imagine. And probably Nancy probably sees it more. I was dealing with this company, and now I'm dealing with this person who owns this company and this and that. There's been quite a few of that I've seen as well from one year to year.
And so there's good and bad with it.
For sure. And I've seen a lot more of the technology side too. A lot of VR headset, not a lot, but a few VRs now going to training, VR, which it seems like there's some benefits there. So that's
going to be huge over the next couple of years because of the cost of training. And think about all the reps you can get with like building your situational awareness and decision making. And the more realistic you can make your visual cues and stuff, the better you do on the scene. So that's going to be big. I saw a couple of months ago, the first ever like VR command fire simulation where it's multiple users in multiple locations, and like one person might be the engine captain, another one might be the truck captain, another one might be the battalion chief, and they're all interacting, and for the first time, whatever actions they took were interpreted by the software to change the conditions. Where in all the previous models of stuff, it's pretty much a static set of slides. And no matter what you do, you just kind of go to the next slide, and it can reinforce bad decision making actually. So if you do something wrong, but it's time to move to the next slide, then you see the conditions improve, but you've taken a wrong action.
Interesting.
And that's what that simulation's for, is to give you that visual cue. So this was the first time that I saw actual smart software it was taking the fire science piece, knowing water application, window open, door open, and changing the conditions that you see in the VR, goggles to match. And that's going to just keep increasing. We're typically 20 years behind the military at least, and I'm sure the military's had similar stuff for their training that's, way ahead of what we do. And by the time we get it, they're already on to the next thing, or they wouldn't let us have it.
That's interesting. No, it's always so cool to just go to that show and just to see what people have, what they're coming up with. Of course, you see some of the same stuff here and there, but what a cool time just to be able to go to that city, be able to enjoy Indianapolis a little bit. I go and golf for a few days beforehand just because we set up one of the first ones in, and then we have a few days off to go set up. So I started going to some of the hot classes, just kind of checking those out last year. But the vendors that are coming in each year and the time that's there, I mean, you just get so much at one location. Go get to talk to just whoever it is that's there. So what a great event, man. You're doing a great job on it.
We say it's where the entire fire industry comes to one spot. So it's presidents of companies, it's fire chiefs, it's firefighters, it's paid, it's volunteer, it's urban, suburban, rural, and everybody's just there. And I can't tell you how many nights at the bars or whatever you're sitting there talking to the engineer for a nozzle or for a rescue harness or whatever, and you're talking about stuff, and you're like, well, I noticed with the harness I always have problems with this, and a napkin comes out, and you're drawing pictures, and then that guy's like taking that thing and folding it up, and then next year you see a new product or a new design, and that's the way things happen. It's not always just the engineers in the lab coming up with those solutions, and I think that's where the magic of connections with the field level boots on the ground talking to the manufacturers makes changes that are positive for the fire service. And you don't get that so much chief to manufacturer because they're 15, 20
Yeah.
years removed from the actual field. But when you start talking to instructors,
Yeah.
and it doesn't stop in the booth, like I said, it carries on into the night, and it's like, hey, let's meet up. I want to talk about that a little bit more. And there's probably been thousands of modifications and new products that came out of conversations, in the bars and sketched out on a napkin.
I think our last 4 or 5 upgrades that we've done on our props have come from, we're in FDIC, we're in there, and you've got some 25-year-old firefighter
You ever
who comes
thought
up to you.
about doing?
Yeah.
You ever thought about putting a hinge right there?
Exactly.
And you're like, damn.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I say too. I get so frustrated. I look at my group and I was just like, I'm so pissed I didn't come up with that beforehand. But it's like, are you willing to listen? And you think about like the business owners and people out there. It's like, what is it that you're willing to do? Are you one that's like, you know what? And we've talked to the guys before, and the guys who are like, they're so stuck in their way. I'm not just how I'm going to do things. But you get people who are in there and actually listening to the people who are dealing with this stuff every day. Our last 4 or 5 different things that we've done have come from FDIC. Someone coming by and be like, hey, you should try this. And it's you can't put that on anything else.
Yep.
I mean, you look at the same thing over and over with everyone here, you get it in front of new eyes, and it's just like, boom, clicks.
And we were talking all the way back to the beginning of my career. It's like different phases. So at first, you want to put out all the fires, cut all the holes, make all the rescues. Then you make officer. You want to be involved in them, let your guys do, and then you just keep moving. Battalion chief. Now you want your crews to be able to function inside. You're not going in as many fires as you did, unless it's like a high rise or mid rise or something. And then now it's like I get as much joy out of making connections that I did from commanding a fire. And it can be simple stuff. It could be like I see something that this company's doing, and it'll be like, you need to meet so-and-so because they've got something that you could add to what you're doing that would be awesome. And like you hook them up, and then like a year later you see they're like partners in business.
Yep.
And same with people, it's same. It's like hooking the right people up. And luckily with my work with UL and several different boards, it's like, somebody's talking about a cancer initiative or whatever, or they're trying to figure out why this happens. And it's like, have you talked to so-and-so?
That's cool.
And then next thing you know, they're collaborating on research and
That's cool.
doing stuff. And to me, that's fun.
And to have that platform like you've got to be able to do that,
And to me, that's what it's for.
that's great.
It's not for me just to write the editorials and, look at me.
Yeah. No, that's great.
It's really to create those opportunities for the instructors,
Yep.
for the attendees,
Yep.
because somewhere in that instructor cadre is the next editor of fire engineering. I don't know who it is, but it's somebody that's in there that I probably already know, and they don't expect it. Hopefully they don't expect it.
Yeah.
Well,
it happened with you that way too.
Yeah, I mean, I never in a million years. Somebody says, how'd you end up? I had somebody wanted to sit me down and wanted to know how I structured my life and the goals and everything that I had and things that I accomplished to get to this point. And I said, dude, watch Forrest Gump. That's the way it happened.
Yeah. I mean,
Like, be good at what you're doing.
Yep.
And don't do it for the next level. Just do it for what you're doing right now.
100%.
And bring as many people in, and those doors start opening. And whether you want them to or not, and you can't possibly go through all of them, but you kind of can pick and choose. And sometimes it happens, and so then you got to create the same environment for the next group coming in.
That gives me chills thinking about that, just because it's something that we preach constantly. And I'm not, I mean, this is even, our business obviously, but we talk about it all the time. It's like a product goes out the door. How do you want to have the best product? Yeah, you have to have obviously good engineering. You got to think through processes. But when that product goes out the door, I don't care if it's missing something small, something big, you make it right. Because the second it leaves, if it's done the right way, at that point that person to talk to that person to talk about, it's zero shortcuts. And we had Chris Slayer on yesterday, and we chatted with him a little bit about it. And he was like, I keep getting asked to do these things where I go and speak places and I do things. I don't understand why. I was like, it's because you're passionate about what you do. You think through what you want to talk about, and you're yourself. You do that, people get these promotions. They start thinking about, oh, I got this and I got this. Now I got to be like this person. No, you don't. Be yourself.
Absolutely.
Who you think you should be, and take that to this level and be confident in what you do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. The folks that are trying to get to the next, and I'm not against goals and all that stuff is good, but like sometimes you can over certify and resume yourself to try to get something, and it's like kind of let it happen organically just by being in the moment of what you're doing. And I see I see people all the time, like, okay, they're fire chief, but they're gone all the time and they're doing other stuff and they're neglecting their own department, or maybe it's an officer in a station and they're on every committee in the fire department and they're always gone to meetings. They're not with their crew. And it's like, it's not that you can't be on a committee, and it's not that you can't travel and have an impact outside, but it's like the majority of your time should be spent on what you're supposed to be doing, which is company officer of that station, or battalion chief of that battalion, or fire chief of that department. And that'll open.
Yeah.
People will see that and
Start going.
Yeah. And the ones that slip through, they burn out pretty quick.
Yeah.
They get because the more you're exposed at a higher level, then the more scrutiny
100%.
You face, and you find out there's a lot of people out there that are a mile wide and an inch deep.
Yeah, to say the least.
But they're popular on social media.
Yeah. People, and those keyboard warriors are out there, man. I'll tell you what, some of them get on, but like you said, they kind of get shown real quickly. So we talked about FDIC, and I don't want to keep you too much longer here. I know we're coming up on an hour, but talk to me a little bit about Fire Engineering Magazine right now. What are you guys doing right now? What's kind of your next step with where you guys are?
So next year is our 150th year.
Congratulations, man.
150th year, 1877. Wow. We have every single issue, every article in our archives, and we're going through right now and looking at some like really key pieces, key cover shots. A couple that have already been brought up is one was the Denver drill cover, which after the firefighter lost his life, that ended up becoming the catalyst for the Denver drill because of file cabinets and the tight window. Fire engineering back then recreated that in a training environment and took a picture and put it on the cover, and people thought it was the actual incident, and they freaking like went nuts. How dare you show this line of duty death on the cover? And it was like, no, this is training. And the issue is talking about the training that came from that. Another one was Bill Manning was the editor when I first did my first article, and he got so tired of complaints because they would have a cover shot and they'd get a complaint. That guy didn't have his gloves on. That guy's helmet straps on the back or whatever. And so he's like, is there a perfect scene?
Yeah.
And so somebody in the office said, yeah, blank. And so he published a blank white cover.
I love that.
And it sent ripples throughout the publishing industry, not just the fire industry. And so you've got that issue that's just a blank white cover that says fire engineering.
I love that, man. That is.
And it was kind of like a everybody.
Well, and that's kind of funny you say that now, and I've talked about this before, but like we work with True Blue, for instance, and they're an auto belay device, and it's a descent device, which you can see them all over FDIC. Shout out to True Blue. But long story short, for them, it's so great that they've gotten into the industry over the past couple of years, and we work very closely with them. We sell their products, but we have firefighters on staff. Justin and Steve are just two of them that I can talk about now, but they'll go out and they'll do specific trainings where they'll bail out of a window or they'll do a VES or something, and they'll purposely fall off the ladder to show how this device works. Then you get the keyboard warriors that just start coming on. I can't believe they did this and this. Oh, you're supposed to grab the chief should stay in the, like all of these things. But it sounds like even before social media.
Oh, absolutely.
Happened before then.
Absolutely. So we got some good stuff. There's some really good articles. One of the things I like to tell is like I've read the very first issue. It was called the Fireman's Journal in 1877. And there's a couple articles in there that stand out. And what they say, the more things change, the more they're the same or whatever. So there's an article in there about the dangers of vacant buildings in 1877.
Really?
And there's an article about firefighter pay
Interesting.
And it's like the firefighters in New York or whatever are complaining about pay, and they're trying to get pay raises and all that stuff. As soon as I read it, I'm just like, nothing's changed.
Yeah.
Nothing's changed. And so it's fun to go back and read those. We are also pulling some stuff for FDIC all the way back. We've got some of the papers from back in the day, and we're at 100 years of FDIC, and so we're looking at some of those early proceedings. Like it was different back then, and it happened with the fire chiefs associations and all. Is like you didn't submit a class, you submitted a letter. And the powers to be would read your letter and be like, this is good. And so then they would invite you to come read your letter. So you'd stand at the podium and read your letter.
Oh,
it wasn't like teaching a class.
Yeah.
It was like giving a speech, sort of. And so then they would publish the letters in a book after the conference. So
that's pretty cool.
Even in reading some of those, it's kind of like they're sort of talking about the same stuff that we're still trying to solve.
That's pretty cool
today.
Man.
Like, can't there be one standard thread? Can't there be one standard this, or can't there be one hydrant operating nut? And like in Atlanta, I think we had 7 different ones in one department. You know,
interesting.
So
that is
it's cool looking back at the history.
And what was the first year of FDIC then? 1920s.
So the first conference was 1928, but there were meetings and instructor meetings before that. Prior to that, and ISO was the catalyst for it. Okay. And then ISO had it for a number of years. We're still like kind of figuring that out. Then ISFSI took it over, which is the International Association of Fire Service Instructors, Society of Fire Service Instructors, and they had it all the way up until 1996, 97, when Penwell was the first like publishing company, and Penwell already had fire engineering. Interesting. At the time. So it was Fire Engineering FDIC. Now it's Fire Engineering, Fire Apparatus and Emergency Equipment, Journal of Emergency Medical Services, Firefighter Nation, Fire Engineering Books, and FDIC.
Interesting. Going off of that, so we talked FDIC, we talked fire engineering. I know I keep saying this, but we want to get off here. So are you still involved with smoke jumpers now too? Are you still doing anything with that?
I still go smoke divers, and it's
smoke divers.
I've turned it all over. And we had a great team, Brent Hollander, who was the main catalyst for us getting it back in 2005. And so he's the incident commander now, passed all of those duties on to the next level. And then there's a lot of transition in the leadership area there. Plus we branched out to Indiana and to Oklahoma. So they got their own leadership in those states. So I get to go now and kind of have the 40,000 foot view with no responsibility of managing the day-to-day. And so I just kind of walk around, talk, help out a little here and there where needed, but then I take a lot of notes, and then at the end of the class, or if I see something, I'll come and say, hey, or y'all know, did y'all change this or whatever? And sometimes they're like, yeah, we changed it to this. And I'm like, oh, okay. Gotcha. I just noticed it was different. And then other times I'll be like, did y'all know da-da-da-da-da? And they're like, what? And then it's like something that's kind of gone not by plan, but it's good because when you're caught up in the management of it, it's all making sure everything's where it's supposed to be, people are who they're supposed to be. Yeah. And so it's good to have those layers. It's almost like an Overwatch. And we didn't have that coming up because it's like whoever had it, once they stopped, they were gone. And so I'm able to be there for a few years, hopefully a lot of years, while this team is managing, who are all there with me, but now they're in charge. And then probably they're going to be there and have passed it on with me. So it's almost like grandfather, father, son, cool. Kind of thing. And it's good to have that level of institutional knowledge in the thing. And every now and then you tell a story, you're like, you start talking about, should we change this? Should we change that? And one of them's the 3-mile run every morning. It's such a huge part of the class. And then if anybody mentions about changing it or whatever, and we were like, do you actually know how the 3-mile run came about? They took everybody in a van to the track, and the van broke down and they couldn't get back. So they ran back the 3.5 miles. And then the next year, the van wasn't available, or the vans weren't available. And so they just incorporated
into it.
that in. There was no strategic reason, but now you can't take it out because it is like,
that's pretty cool.
It's like kind of a make or break, you know, for some folks.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So one more question here before we wrap up, but if you had to go back, and I asked this question because some people watching this show have asked me this in the past, or maybe they're talking about career paths, and we talked about this a lot more on like a business front. But if you had to go back, you're at that time frame where you were police department, which by the way, I've heard that quite a bit from people. Mm-hmm. Police department, fire department, they're kind of going back and forth. What would your suggestion be, 19-year-old person looking back, did you make the right decision? And would you give the same advice to people to go into the fire service at that young age?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great place to be. I think you have to be careful, like where you go, and find the right fit for you. A lot of people bounce around because they get frustrated. I always say 5 years.
Yep.
First 5 years, all you want to do is you don't care. You're not noticing things other than you want to go on the call and all that. After 5 years, you start getting cynical. You start seeing what it is like to work for local or state government or whatever, and you just start like, oh, this is wrong. Why do we do it this way? Blah, blah, blah. And then you like move to another department, and then 5 years later you move to another department. So like find somewhere that like spend some time there, know people that work there, talk to them, do ride-alongs, kind of make sure it's the right fit for what you want, and then just, you know, go for it. And I think the sooner you get in it, the better.
Yeah.
You know, I do tell all the young guys now, it's like we worked as much as we possibly could, like, you know, working multiple jobs and multiple things. I caution people about working too much, like working for 2 fire departments or working at the fire department and an ambulance service. Like we've definitely learned, like you can burn out quick, especially with the call volume these days. Definitely in an urban environment. I'm sure the suburbs are somewhat the same now, but where I was on a really busy engine for a little while in Atlanta that ran 3,000, 3,200 calls, that's now 7,000. You know,
that's crazy.
And what was busy to us is like slow.
Yeah.
Now. And so, you know, you're running 30, 40 calls a shift in some of these places, and then you're going and working another 24 hours somewhere else. And even if it's not a busy place, it's just that shift work, it takes its toll. So I tell everybody, think, you got so many calls in you. Mm-hmm. Do you want to get them all in 10 years, or do you want to stretch them out over 30 years to keep yourself healthy and you know,
mental health too, man,
vibrant. And I'm not saying don't work, but do something else.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and you can teach, you can do instruction. That's not quite the same as running those calls. Or, you know, back in my day, we framed houses, did HVAC, electrical, all that. And it was still hard work, but it was somewhat a stress relief from, you know, running the calls.
Yeah.
And stuff. So do something different. Don't get caught up in a, you know, one thing that scares me about all these departments going 24/72, which is a great schedule, but I know our nature, and it's like, okay, on 24/48, I can only do 12 extra hours, but now I can work 48/48 or 48 and have 24 off, or, you know, whatever. And that scares me a little bit. So there needs to be some education on like how big of a toll that'll actually take on you. And, you know, money's good, but you can do something else and do just as well. Start your own business.
Yeah, there you go.
Everybody should own their own business at least once.
I couldn't agree more with you, man. There's something to be said for it for sure, but you're right. The burnout is real. And it's interesting. We've had some people now talking about mental health the last couple episodes too, and that's a huge one as well, man. I mean, you have firefighters dealing, especially if you're doing double time, man. You have firefighters dealing with 1,000+ crazy scenes that typically, you know, most everyday human beings deal with 1 to 5 catastrophic events, and firefighters deal with over 1,000 in their lifetime. You start working more hours, that just adds up even more. But even guys here, they're working overtime hours, and there gets to a point though where you're just tired and your brain's not hitting like it should.
And when you
hit.
combine that with government bureaucracy and your like payroll discrepancy or just goofy promotional policy, the combination of that is like a freaking freight train head-on collision. And you have to, you have to have fun. Work is good, and it is part of who you are. They say, oh, your work is not your identity. Okay, well, why do they call the guy John Baker? Because he used to bake, So it is part of and there's nothing wrong with that. People have kind of painted that as like, oh, you need this work-life balance and all. It's okay to be a firefighter, love the job, be into it, and that be your identity. But you also have to know that you can shut it off and be at home.
Yeah.
And that's hard. It's hard. I was talking to Stephanie White, who's the editor of Firefighter Nation. We need to teach how to do that in recruit school. And we don't. And there's actual methods and practices to do that help you turn it off. And we never turned it off. Every time you go in a building, you're looking, was the door blocked? I'm sitting with my back to the wall. I don't want my back to the door in case something happens. I want to be able to see. And kids are in the back seat. Can I take my seatbelt off? No. I want to lay down. No, you got to sit up straight with your seatbelt on, feet in the floor.
Yeah.
And so you're just pumped all the time. And
I can imagine.
Definitely need to do a better job at preparing the people coming in, because we scare the crap out of them. We're telling them you're going to get cancer, you're going to have mental illness, and that's not. It's not true. It's a possibility.
Yeah.
But every job has risk.
Yep.
Every single job has some kind of risk. Whether you're painting stuff in a paint booth or whatever, it's like, how do you manage the risk and how do you take care of yourself? So it's not that it's an automatic.
Yep.
It's just that you need to know about the risk and manage them over your career. So.
Take risks confidently. Confident risks.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a good point, man. Well, I know we're getting, so anything that we should be covering that we didn't? Anything else you want to mention?
I don't guess so. I think we covered pretty much full gamut.
Okay. Well, I want to say, just to close out, man, we really
Other than go dogs.
Go, jeez, good God, man. You're saying that here in the wrong neck of the woods. You're wearing that G on your shirt.
That's the old school G.
When you pulled up, I actually thought it was a Gonzaga G at first. I was like, oh, okay. So you might be throwing some people here in Spokane for a loop this week. But before we get off, I do want to say we really do appreciate you, everything that you're doing in the fire service, man, from FDIC to Fire Engineering Magazine to coming out to helping us out to raise money this week. The small things like that don't go unnoticed whatsoever. I know you got other bigger things happening and things throughout the country that you go and do, but to come and help support an event like this one means a lot to this community, and especially the firefighters in North Idaho and Washington State. So we really do appreciate you coming out and doing this, man.
It's good calls, and glad to be here to support that guy and families and stuff.
Yeah, much appreciated, man. Thanks again for coming on. Appreciate it.